this next one, I think, is from William Woods University, which is a university in Missouri from this year. And this young woman is questioning really my approach with regard to science, and she thinks all truth comes from science. So let's take a look at this one.
All right. You're providing all of this evidence, but evidence has to be derived from fact, and fact is usually backed up with science. So are you, I guess it's not making sense in my head, are you like counteracting science entirely with theistic ideas, or are you like merging them both together?
Well, first of all, what do you mean by science?
You showed pictures of stars and all of that. That's astrologically proven by science.
Right.
So I'm not understanding the theistic behind it.
But if you had to define what science is, what would you say it is?
Fact.
Well, there are facts that have nothing to do with science, like my name's Frank and your name's Callie, right? That has nothing to do with science.
I would say that's societal fact, like societal science. You're given a name. That's fact.
Yeah, it's a fact. In other words, not all facts are scientific facts. The law of non-contradiction is not a scientific fact. The laws of logic aren't scientific facts. You need the laws of logic in order to do.
I want to say something here, and is pay attention to the body language, both hers and yours, and you see how opposite they are.
Science, right?
Sure.
Okay. So there are facts that aren't scientific facts. That's all I'm saying. So all I'm doing is I'm looking at reality, say the stars, the universe, and I'm trying to discover what caused the universe. And there's scientific evidence that shows us the universe had a beginning. But for me to then say God is the cause, I have to interpret that data and say the best explanation for the creation of space, matter, and time is a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, personal, intelligent creator. I'm making an inference. I could be wrong. I'm just saying, based on the data that I have, that appears to be the best explanation. Do you see a better explanation?
I'm not disagreeing or agreeing with you. I'm just saying I wasn't really understanding like your route that you were taking for it.
Oh, all I'm doing is I'm looking at the classic three arguments for God that are often given. And I'm saying, based on what we see, it appears that a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, personal, intelligent, moral creator actually exists. Now, as I said before, this does not prove the Christian God alone. It might be the Christian God. We've got to see if Jesus rose from the dead to say that the same being that created and sustains the universe and designed the universe and gave us objective moral values is the same being that walked out of the tomb 1,989 years ago, if he indeed do that. If he indeed did do that.
Okay.
All right. So as you can see, when someone is asking a question and they're actually saying something that's just logically fallacious, you want to be gentle in correcting them. You don't want to lose the person. I never want to own people, so to speak. I don't want to try and make anybody look bad. I want to try and bring them along gently if I can, because she doesn't want to be embarrassed. That's not going to help the cause, right? Nobody wants to be embarrassed. We're having a conversation. We're not really having a debate. So you want to be gentle. And also, I think it's important that when you're trying to make an argument for Christianity, don't overstate the argument. Don't say that the cosmological argument proves Christianity, because it doesn't. It
doesn't, yeah.
Yeah, it might. It gives support for a God that could be the God of the Bible, but you don't know it's the God of the Bible until you see whether Jesus rose from the dead or not. And then if he did, then you can say, okay, the same being that walked out of the tomb 1,990 years ago is the same being in whose divine nature created the universe out of nothing.
Right.
But you don't know that just from creation. You don't know that from the design argument. You don't know that from the moral law argument. You're getting evidence that could be the Christian God, but it's not confirmed until you discover who Jesus really was.
Yeah, and that an argument like that, do away with things like atheism and pantheism, and but it doesn't get you all the way to Jesus, and that's right. The beauty of it. That we have to be humble enough to say, to know how far those arguments are going to get us, into the conversation and then continue to hold the person by the hand. And that's one of the things that you cannot do in a 5 or 6 minute exchange in a college campus.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Phoenix, you see in this one?
Well, of course, I love that you used the classic, what do you mean by science?
Mm-hmm.
It forces her to clarify her terms, and her anti-supernatural bias is kind of dripping with her posture and the way she's approaching the topic that science and theology can't touch at all. And so that was interesting. But I thought it was interesting that, you know, you also put it back on her and say, can you think of a better explanation? And, you know, she deflects because she's not prepared to defend any position. So she takes I'm not saying I agree or disagree with you, but I think it's always a valid question to keep in your back pocket. Sure, in that situation, Frank was shouldering the burden of proof because he had made a positive statement based on, you know, he had reasoned from cause back to effect. But she was rejecting it, it would seem, in that moment. So no one's going to force her to defend why she's rejecting it. But in those quiet moments when she's alone, she has to have an alternative. Now, I know people are going to disagree with it. No, she doesn't have to have an alternative explanation, but she kind of does. She's got to have something sitting in the back of her head that says, this is more plausible than what that man said on the stage. She's got to, even if she's not ready to defend it.
I want to say one more thing about this interaction. It is how sure she was about her knowledge about science.
Yeah,
coming
science
from
is
a
fact.
materialistic perspective. This is the reason why you have to teach your children clear thinking, good philosophy, critical thinking. Because
do we
this
have a
would
course
have never,
on that, Jorge?
Yeah,
train your brain.
Yeah.
For 60
And
years in logic.
it is imperative that we do that, because this wouldn't even been a question if she would have understood to see that all you're doing is you're going from creation to creator, from evidence, right, to
from
cause
to effect.
Yeah. From effect to cause.
Effect to cause.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that is the main reason why we have, you know, people like her that have good intentions, that are, you know, willing to learn, that are open to learning, but don't have the structure to learn well.
Yeah, by the way, all of us have gone to Southern Evangelical Seminary, ses.edu. So if you really want to, that's right. It's kind of a magical place to go.
It is.
If you really want to learn this in a formal way and get a degree, go to ses.edu/Frank. You can actually get a scholarship to go there, and, you know, start 2024 off right. You know, start learning how you can defend the faith.
Yeah.
By the way, and you guys know from the Stealing from God book that science, she was talking about science. Science actually doesn't say a thing. Scientists say things, right? Science doesn't say a word. It's scientists that say things. And because all data needs to be gathered and interpreted, and that's what scientists do. So science by itself actually doesn't give you any facts. It's the scientists that are using the scientific method that have to gather and interpret the data to give you the facts if they are correct. So that's a whole nother way of looking at it.